Hey everyone, welcome, welcome. Great to see you. What a strange time we're living in with the 2 years, really that kind of started today of a genocide and the possibility of it ending. So as we are always here in the space between the peace economy and the war economy, I would say today is one of those days where it's very vibrant. The horrors and the possibilities standing next to each other. But as I reflect on these last 2 years, one of the things that's very clear is that in the witness of what Israel's been doing, what the United States has been funding, how really horrific our members of Congress are, and how our cities and our communities are feeling the pressure of all the money being spent on war and destruction and devastation, that more and more people are really understanding the value of our local peace economies. So if anyone is new, feel free to raise your hand and say hi and where you're from. Otherwise, please, David, thank you. I was looking at you. Otherwise, everybody else just put your name in the chat and where you're coming in from so they can see. But David, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yep, from Baltimore. I just, as usual, put in the chat that I'm 84. I'm basically a peacenik. I like to know where people are from. I see this group I'm not familiar with, Code Pink, and I support Code Pink. And I sent you a longish piece in the reply from Spark, and I support a workers' party in Maryland. The piece I put in is an economic analysis against capitalism, which I find very wonderful, although I'm basically a peacenik and have spent time in prison and actually have a full and unconditional pardon from Ronald Reagan.
Whoa, well, are you going to give us a little more on like what'd you go to prison for? And
pouring blood on draft files. 67.
awesome, a hero in our presence. Yay,
Yeah,
go David.
Father Barragan, me, and a couple
Uh,
other people.
uh,
Uh,
Presente, Father Barrington. Thank you for bringing
yep.
such a beautiful human present today. Courage matters. That kind of courage matters, and we know it in this movement right now. That whenever anyone stands up, it gives everyone else courage. So, thank you so much for that, and happy you got a pardon also. So, who else is here for a first time that wants to introduce themselves? Hi, Kevin. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Kevin King. I
Thank
live
you.
in Houston, Texas. I have a team of about 5 from Friends Peace Teams working on economic justice, and we decided to study the local peace economy.
Cool.
And
Oh, I can't
so,
wait to hear from you in a minute because,
starting out.
yeah, we're looking forward to hearing from you. Fantastic. Any other newcomers want to introduce themselves? All right, so we'll start with some culture. First, we'll start with just grounding ourselves, putting our feet on the ground and feeling the earth and taking a deep breath to remind us that we have this precious life. So just take a deep breath with me, take it in and let it out. Here we are present as these amazing human beings in this wacky, crazy, beautiful, maddening, and beautiful time. Another breath in and out. Thank you for being present with us. So first, we're going to hear a piece of culture that Marie has chosen for today, and then we'll move into having a conversation. Thanks, Marie.
Good evening, everyone. Um, It's been getting in my neck of the woods colder nights and leaves are beginning to fall. And um, I came across a poem online by Mary Oliver, just called Fall, and I thought I would read it for all of you. The black oaks fling their bronze fruit into the pockets of the earth. Puck, puck. They knock against the thresholds, the roof, the sidewalk. They feel the eaves, the bottom line of the old gold song of the almost finished year. What is spring, all that tender green stuff compared to this? Falling of tiny oak trees out of oak trees, then the clouds gathering thick along the west, then advancing, then closing over, breaking open. The silence, then the rain, dashing its silver seeds against the house. I love Mary Oliver so much. I have to admit that she's my favorite, and I go back to her for any inspiration. So, welcome, everyone.
Thank you. And for those who want, it'll be in the follow-up email if you all want to share it someplace you are. All right, so, we've had a busy few months of learning and sharing and a lot of learning. And unfortunately, like all our learnings has ended up with not a lot of time to talk to each other. So we thought this week would be a good time to be sharing amongst ourselves and, what's working, what are we learning, what's inspiring us in our local peace economies. And I want to share one to start us off. So I have a friend, Susan Griffin, a feminist writer, poet, essayist, revolutionary, who in the 70s, in Ramparts in the actually 60s, published one of the first essays on rape and had to fight even with those radical men to get it published. And then did the book Women in Nature about the violence that the earth experiences and women and how those are connected. A prescient story, given that we've seen that the violence that is expressed to the earth is then expressed on us as humans. And we see that definitely with war. The cost of war to the earth is staggering and the greatest contributor to climate change. So, and it is the cost to our bodies. And also when we are witnessing the disease, and for me, from my generation to now with my grandchildren's generation, seeing what cancer has become, remembering that war serves the war economy. Without war, there wouldn't be the war economy. It takes war to protect it and to sustain it. So, it is all connected. So Susan's been a light for me. Her book, Course in Stones, also really to speak to the cost of war to the planet and to our lives. She has been dying for the last 2 months, and it was the first time I really experienced a local peace economy hospicing someone to the end of their lives. And it was quite profound because here's a woman alone who had no one but her friends. And the local friends were the hospice. And we each took on a different role because there's a lot to do as someone has no capacity anymore and is slowly wasting away. And to be part of that was one of the deepest ways I've ever really experienced the local peace economy. I mean, literally, it brings tears to my eyes to speak about what that was and how we experienced it, and how, as Marie said, it's how it should always be, but that it isn't normal. Yet it has been normal throughout millennia. And to be able to be part of rebirthing it, have so many people partake in it, and have it influence the whole community as they witnessed it, has been powerful. And I share that because I think we miss all the ways the local peace economy is being expressed in our lives. And we're looking for something big, but that it starts with these, brick by bricks, as we talk about, that one step to the next step. And I know Macy's like such an expert at this, where she does one thing and then it moves to the next thing. And she like creates this web of connection that you really, as you witness her, can watch grow. And it's just a reminder that it can happen wherever we are with whatever there is to do. And so today we want to talk about what's happening for you. What are some aha moments you've had, some ways you're really watching this experience teach you, the mycelium. And also we want to pick your brain a little bit, because we've been having this anti-imperialist education series at CODEPINK, and we did Palestine and China, and the next 2 weeks are about War is Not Green. And in December, it's going to be Local Peace Economy. And what we want to talk about for those 2 weeks is kind of like this. And we'd love to have you be part of that, just as last week with the China's Not Our Enemy, we had that working group be teaching of like, how are you experiencing? How can you teach the people that came that makes it approachable? Because when you talk about it, it's this thing out here. When you're doing it, it becomes this yummy experience of a way of being that should be the way of all being. But it's that, the crossing over that is always a hard part for the mind that hasn't done it. So we're trying to think of like ways that you celebrate the holidays that are more local peace economy rooted, that we'd love to pick your brain about those too. So let's just start with some raising of hands of who wants to share. Like Kevin, I'd love to learn, how you were learning together, and if there's any questions you might have too. So hands up. All right, we've got David for starters. All right, go David.
In the chat, I recommend the interview Nicole Wallace did with Joan Baez. And John Deere with the Beatitudes Center has a lot of interviews. He interviewed a fabulous peacenik from Chicago, Ken Budigan. And Ken asked the question, what training do you recommend for our movements? And I got thinking, well, depends on your talent. If you have a talent, and mine's in the arts, you have a start. And I had a fabulous mentor. If you don't know what to do, I hooked up with Father Berrigan, and he was my mentor. All the training that I needed after civil rights demonstrations, we went to more and more militant peace demonstrations. And I really love talking about tactics and what to do now. I'm very moved by the Workers' Party in Maryland, and their tactic is just to talk one-on-one with people. We're not in a revolutionary time. I mean, we had the enemies of the draft and the Jim Crow. So what do we have now? Hamas, Trump, but it doesn't seem to. Nicole Wallace and Joan Baez talked about what do we need for glue in this moment. We had the glue, and now it's a little amorphous.
Well, David, yeah, we did, and but we didn't. The structures remained the same, and the war continued, and the racism continued. So I actually do believe we live in a revolutionary time, because it's super clear, I think, for a lot of people that different than back in the 60s, some of us, that's hippies, and draft dodgers understood the violence of power. But then, like our heroes got murdered and their lives got ended. And you were really lucky to have an amazing, one who I, hold up as one of the lights of my life. But I think we're at a place where more and more people understand the violence of the war economy, understand the systems that we live inside of, and they're ready to make the change. So I do think we live in a revolutionary time. It's just the revolution right now is to practice the peace economy, to build those muscles of practicing peace, because they've been practiced out of us. If we think back to the 60s, we were way more practiced at being relational. We were way more practiced at what we call our peace economy practices than we are now. And I'm, distressed by how education, like, even with my grandkids, I watch how they are compared to how we were. And I think what creates it that way also is, when we say to live in abundance instead of scarcity, well, the war economy has created scarcity, not just, the concept of scarcity that we aren't going to let ourselves be caught up in, but they have created scarcity where a young person can't buy a home, where things do cost a lot of money. I live in Los Angeles, California, where we're living in a recession, where people are, what it's like to live in scarcity. So if I think back to when I was a young person, nothing cost anything. I could do anything I wanted. I wasn't burdened by having to have a job and pay for health insurance and be burdened by like how much I had to earn just to eat my meals. That time period has created this weight of, how do we do given what it takes to live? So if that, David, I think, I think it's very real. And when we practice our way into cooperation, into community, that we can lessen what that burden of scarcity is and create the opportunities for abundance. So I hope, that's what we can continue to practice here. But thank you for bringing us back to where where it was a much more local peace economy culture. The hippies had it pretty good. Elaine, hi, good to see you, Elaine. What's your comment?
It's good to see you also. Well, I don't know if this would resonate with anybody, but I just became a great grandmother for the third time to a little boy. And it's really put me in a place. I've been I consider myself an activist for the past 50 years with women's issues, and some of the disappointments with some of the rights that we've lost, with Roe versus Wade. But one thing that continually goes through my mind is number one is the fact that in my family, another child has come in. I was one that said, why do we have to have more children? Look at the world, and here I am. And then I also have a fourth one coming in April. So I'm thinking to myself, oy vey, how did this happen? And so it gives me that oomph, it gives me that energy where I realize I can't give up and I can't look at the negative. Because if I look at the negative, I'm going to drown in it. I can't believe how many days I have cried over the fact that when I look at the children in Gaza, how much, especially being Jewish, having to overcome that horror that's happening there, knowing that your family, when you were 8 years old, supported that. So I refuse to look at the negative. I just keep moving one foot in front of the other. And also because I do the radio show, Women's Spaces, I'm amazed at how many women are doing so many things. And then I do a segment. I really encourage people, look at your history. Look at what other women have gone through. Look what the Native Americans have gone through, the tears. Look at what the African Americans, where women didn't even get the vote Black women didn't even get to vote till 1960. So that really helps me. And but it's still at the same time, and then of course, to be able to come to this group, and I'm sorry I don't come as often. I make it when it's open, and I appreciate you doing this. And one last thing I want to say, whenever I go out, I put my, Jodie, first Medea Benjamin gave me the button and it got destroyed. And then Jodie gave me another one and I wear it. I wear it on my hat. I wear it on my, and I feel that other women are walking with me. So that's for what it's worth. That's my 2 cents.
Those are beautiful offerings. Thank you, Elaine. Yes, yes, yes. I think, giving birth is a radical act of revolutionary act of hope and resistance.
Oh,
Because we will not build the future of peace if we don't believe. And so here we are, and that is a beautiful act of resistance. Thank you so much. I have my 12th grandchild on the way, so yes, I'm with you. Rosie.
Hello, how are you?
Great.
This is my first time to one of these, and it's so
Welcome.
lovely already. So
Where are you
happy to
from,
be here.
Rosie? Where are you from?
Babylon, New York, Long Island. And I've been collecting stories of the local peace economy since I RSVP'd to this, and I've been asking people, just friends, and as they tell me about things they're doing, so I've been learning. And one of the things that I have been building for many years is my own community because I want to be part of a community. And it is so hard in our world where we are disjointed. And on Long Island, we're really stuck in our cars and our houses. There's not a lot of public parks and spaces to be together. So I take walks with my sons. I introduce myself to my neighbors and I reach out to my family. I show up unannounced, not, and so far, so good. I've created what I call a sitcom house where people are always stopping by and family, friends, asking for something they need, offering me something. And it's created this community that I want to be a part of, that I want to create and make bigger. And with every interaction, as I extend an offer of, hey, maybe we can get the kids together, or here I had extra, whatever, biscuits, bringing something to a neighbor, offering something, it is creating another part of this community. And I find that has made me feel safer, stronger in a very uneasy world where I also fall into despair and cry, thinking about and watching and knowing what's happening and not feeling like I can make any real change to the things that are going on seemingly out there. But I know all those out there things start with how we interact with all those people around us. So creating that close-knit community in my day-to-day actions has really given me great peace.
Wow. Okay, there you are. That's exactly what we asked for today. I mean, there you are. It's beautiful because, right, it's so simple because it's really in every act that you're doing it. And yes, you are making the difference. It is where the difference is made. And I know it's hard for all of us because it's not immediately stopping. The thing that has been intentionally created for violence for 100 years, that we are going to need to create the fabric, which is exactly what you're talking about. You are weaving the fabric of peace and love and care. That is the work. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Rosie. Anyone else want to share either a question or what they're, doing locally?
I had something I could share.
Thanks, Marie.
So the little town that I live in has this activist history. And in the 1960s, a place was set up in a little house just down the road from me. And it's called the Media Fellowship House. And it was set up during civil rights as a place to come for conversation. And it was meant explicitly to have conversations around issues in civil rights, but it's continued to be a place for conversation. And so there's this little house with paintings on the side, and they hold conversations about hard topics. And they bring community together. They invite, like somebody, a young person, a person from one side of the political spectrum, somebody from the other, and they're on a panel, but then the gathered audience, it's not really a panel, it's a conversation. And especially since COVID, I really find that spaces that help people learn how to talk to each other respectfully again are invaluable spaces. And this is also rooted in like this is a very Quaker area. There's like my town of 7,000 people has 3 Quaker meetings. It's like very Quaker here. And it's really rooted in this idea that we all have a spark and we all can bring something to conversation, and the respectfulness, we owe each other the respect of listening and hearing each other out. And I think that that's a really beautiful place. I wanted to bring that forward.
Thanks, Marie. And also, it's a place that takes practice. I'll share another one that was really interesting of like how to affect this in this, in a space of tension. So we do an action outside the Zionist consulate on Tuesday in the midday and Friday at late afternoon every week. And, the Zionists come and they try to provoke us. And, it was like, okay, I turned to local peace economy practices and I said, okay, how am I going to help those ones that just don't know how to not engage? So I gave them a little piece of paper and I said, we're committed to nonviolence and to peace. So, when you engage with them, they win because they've provoked you to engage with them. So why don't, you're like, our commitment is to humanize. It's like all the things when we look out that aren't happening, our commitment is to do what's not happening, to create community, to not separate, to not hate, to not dehumanize. So, when you start screaming at them, that's not exactly following, the practices of the future. So I said to the ones, and they're all men that, can't help themselves but engage. I said, whenever you have the urge to do it, just come to me. Just come to me and tell me how you feel. And so the first time it happened, Ian would just keep coming to me. He was like, this is really hard. And like this trying to control my ego is like painful and blah, blah, blah. At the end, the Zionists walked away frustrated because we never engaged with them. We just stayed in love and we would dance and we would sing to each other and we would hold. Oh, I know the other thing I said, come over and I'll give you a hug. So I would hug him every time. When it was over, Ian loved himself. That was what I didn't expect, was to watch Ian feel so good about himself. And he said, every time I leave here after bugging them, I feel so unfulfilled and I feel like I didn't get what I needed. But this time I got what I needed. So that's another example of like, bringing the local peace economy, like, okay, how do we practice this? What does this look like? And it really is the opportunity in every moment. What's the thing that I try to look at? It's like, what's the way like I'm thrown to behave and what would look different? And having always that conundrum, like even when we're in these tough conversations of just like, what would look different right now? And throwing that out brings the most beautiful surprises. And I think we don't live in a time where there's a lot of beautiful surprises. So even just when we can surprise people, those feelings, that moment of like, to be human are really potent. Kat, hi Kat.
There, I had to unmute. Hi, I may look silly being in a bathing suit, but I am in Rio Lagardos in Yucatan in Mexico.
Lucky you.
I just got out of the pool. And this is where I live. I live in Merida in Yucatan.
Lucky you.
Yeah, and I love CODEPINK. I started in the beginning in San Francisco and marched on the bridge all the time, and actually got my picture in the San Francisco Chronicle because our team was all like discussing things with the police officers about getting arrested, and I was standing there, so I got my picture taken. And they were all like engaged with police officers. It was pretty funny. Anyway, so I've been involved a long time, and I can't do much down here politically, openly. But what I do is I wear my Código Rosa. They actually, I have it in Spanish, and I have my CODEPINK t-shirts, and I just talk to some people that don't understand at all. They don't understand what CODEPINK is. They don't understand peace activists. There's the, like we get labeled, whatever that label is they're now using for people that are peace activists. I won't even say it. It's so stupid. You know,
What
like
is
things
it? I
like
don't
that.
know. What is it?
No, Antifa. I mean,
Oh.
people call people Antifa all the time, you know, because if you're, I mean, that's just what I'm saying is you run into a lot of people. Not everybody. I'm from Berkeley, San Francisco, so if you were a Republican or on that team, you wouldn't tell anyone. Here, there's a lot of people that are from areas that are red states. I can't get involved in all that stuff. I'm not going to. I don't even live in the country. But what I want to do is figure out how to have more of a community of peace here. And it's kind of hard. Um, we live in a state that is one of the two worst states in the country out of 32 for abuse of women, violence against women. And it's usually their spouses. And so that's something I tried to get involved with. I can't. I'm a foreigner. You know, I mean, it just didn't work. So all I'm saying is I came here to just check in with my people, you know, because I still feel you're my people. And it used to be in the beginning that, you know, Medea was there in San Francisco all the time with us. And that was such an active time, you know.
So, you know, Kat, sometimes, as Cesar Chavez used to say, the best way is the bank shot. So change happens from the bank shot. And so not taking, you know, first of all, at CODEPINK, our motto is never to come at anything this way. It's
Right.
always to be disarming. That's the pink, you know, that's the play.
Yeah, that's it.
So, you know, sometimes it's about getting people together about something that's just not even political. Start there. You know, start with something cultural, a sewing circle, you know, something that is just grounded in how do we just come together and have a conversation and let that space open gradually. It's kind of like we're talking today about like, everybody wants it to just be this extreme, you know, as an activist, I'm always trying to teach activists like, no, you're not going to get your Aunt Helen not to be crazy. You know, it's just like, but the thing is, and what we're talking about here with local peace economy is really how do we get together and just be human together? We've literally, the war economy has forced us not to even know how to be human together. So that is the first practice. I wouldn't even go to politics. I'd start at the, you know, what just makes us be human together? What's the conversation here? And, you know, and then let arise what's in the room. As we say in the local peace economy, we answer to need. And so much of us Westerners think we have the answer, we have the idea, and we're going to operate from here. And the practice of the local peace economy is to just keep breathing and letting need speak to us and not jumping ahead. You know, it's the one of our tenets is, you know, to stop solving problems and start, you know, being relational with what is really. So you live somewhere that actually has a lot of peace economy there because of the poverty. A lot of people there live very connected to the peace economy at the, you know, abuse of the war economy, but they do have to share a lot. They do find ways to make things happen very creatively because poverty is something that forces peace economy habits on us. So, you know, I would just start with finding like a reason to get together that doesn't trigger and that then starts, and you'll see something will arise and it'll be surprising. And the other thing that I find that happens when we're in circles is when we're not trying to run it our way or to a conclusion, parts of our brain get accessed, parts of who we are get offered that are also surprising and wonderfully engaging that, you know, make this magic happen that then therefore makes the connective tissue happen. So, you know, good luck. You know, you can get the book and work on the workbook together, even like invite people over to work on the workbook with you, because that's fun to work in, because, you know, everybody's living with these horrible war economy addictions they want to get rid of. So it's a really great offering to your community, and you can just download it for free off the website. So thank you so much for sharing and for, you know, being in a bathing suit in the Yucatan and making us all jealous.
Sorry.
All right, so Macy, what do you have to share from all your wonders?
I really like that you brought up being apolitical because it's not in my nature, but that's one of the best ways to establish rapport with people before you become political or before you want them to really hear you on a point. So I I volunteer with a pet emergency group, and we finally succeeded in setting up our emergency pet clinic. I volunteer with a food distribution center. I hang out with the Mormon Church because I am very curious about their mutual aid process. They have something called ministry that I'm trying to administer like on a community scale where you can sign up and receive 2 phone calls a month from kind of random people just checking on you
Whoa,
and to
that's
ask if you need anything. So
wow.
so that to me would be interesting. You can sign up to call or you can sign up to receive calls. And then I have a food bank on my porch. Can you read this?
No, but take it back a little bit. I think we might be able to then. Let's see, one sec. Please don't take all watermelon all at once.
Yeah, I can show you what I'm talking about. So I have had this food bank on my porch since I moved here 2 years ago because it's kind of a central location. And this is again with the community rapport building before you want to talk about anything serious. I have people coming and going from here, if you can see it. This is, I'm going to try a little bit harder. This is like a bunch of cauliflower and pineapple and lettuce and
Wow.
watermelon and muffins and stuff, but that's my front porch any day of the week. And I still don't think it probably like made sense. Blah blah.
It made total
Blah
sense.
blah
We got
blah.
to see, yeah, no, we got to see all of it. Thank you, Macy. We can see it. And I love your idea. I mean,
and then people just know I care about people. They know I care about people, and that's like a huge foundation for when I'm saying something that might like become political. And what I say is like, it's not my fault that somebody decided to write policy about something that is in fact human. And Jodie, I told you about these. I copied this off
thank you.
a button I saw in Detroit.
Yeah.
It says wars undo mother's work. And I went around town and said, "Hi, would you like one of these buttons? My mom helped me make them." And a full 97 out of 97 people that I walked up to said yes. So it wasn't that political. And it was very bonding because I said, "My mom." I know that's what did it. So I don't know. Just
Well, I think
throwing
you've
some things
spoken
out.
to something really important, Macy, and that's building trust before we can walk people across the bridge. So I think that's super core to what we were looking for today is like, what are the things that you find are successful? And even though you and I are like radically political, it's one of our practices to step back and let relationship lead instead of politics and build that trust. Oh, yeah.
You know how I love like printing and stuff, button making and printing. I was asked to speak at the Democratic Party thing, regrettably, but I said there's no revolution without relationship, and that was going to be my next printing project.
Yay, yay, there we go.
I'm not sure they understood what I was talking about, but you did.
Well, then that speaks to what David said. David, that's why it's a revolution because we're building back relationships. So, and when we can do that, we make all the difference. So, And I love that Joy's about to put her things from her garden out on her bench. And what kind of place is it that you keep your car locked because people fill it with all this extra zucchini? Those are good problems to have. Too much food. Not happening in LA right now, I can tell you that. Well, we're getting close to when we break into groups where you can speak to each other. Kevin, but I just wanted to check in with you and see if there's anything you want to share from working locally on the book together, if you had any questions.
I don't know. We're just taking it slow. We're kind of doing, coming to understand our own consciences and each other better.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
It's a nice, it's a connecting workbook to go through.
Great. I'm glad
Not
you're.
sure what question I have.
No worries. Just wanted to check.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jodie, I thought it might be a good time to talk about all the stories that are on our new Substack.
Oh, yes, please. Go ahead, Marie.
Yeah, so I put it in the chat. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks or so, the Local Peace Economy project has created a new Substack. And this is a place where we're putting essays and videos and podcasts that relate to storytelling around the local peace economy. It's been written by people past and present who have worked with CODEPINK, the local peace economy interns that you met a couple of meetings ago, some of you. They've been doing writing for us. Jodie has written some, and some other guest authors, and we're going to begin really populating it with lots of stories. And so this collecting stories here is in part we really want to invite people to say join the Local Peace Economy writing workshop. And people from the writing workshop are also going to begin submitting essays. And here is the writing workshop link, which meets once a month. And so we're trying to connect all of these projects that Local Peace Economy, that our Local Peace Economy group is doing, connect them together and help be a unified force for storytelling. So go and subscribe. You don't have to pay for subscription to the Substack, even though it tries to urge you to do that. You can join for free and give it a follow.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, please, and share it with friends. I just wanted to say it looks like the peace agreement has been reached. So we don't know what that looks like really, and it's not probably what we all want. But I know what we do all want is the killing to stop. It's not going to happen as we all desire, but on the second anniversary that the daily murder of Palestinians can come to a stop, that's a good place to start for what's next. So we know we get this promise every once in a while. May it hold in this August new moon. May it hold, and may some relief happen for those who've been bombarded every day, as we try to then pivot our attentions to working to a rebuild, to working for justice, to working for liberation for the Palestinians. But it's a powerful day that we came together. So with that, Marie, so what we'd like in the breakouts today is just to share, as Kat did share her question and Macy shared what's happening. What are you doing locally? What's weighing on your heart? I know we come together too for what weighs on our hearts, so we can inspire each other with hope, with Elaine, that's our task. And then, share anything that you're thinking about doing around the holidays. And then if you can, please share it back to Marie and myself so we can include it in our teaching. So Marie, do you want to do a couple of breakout rooms?